Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to answer the question that many of you might have wondered when you go buy supplements. You see supplements in a store, or you even see their ad on a website, and it will oftentimes have a little disclaimer that these statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. Why is that label there? So I put on my +5 hat of weaponsmithing, work on skilling up my crafting a little bit, and let's talk about this. Because this is an interesting point. Well, the obvious reason why it's there is because supplements don't usually do what they claim they do. Hopefully that comes as no big surprise to any of you. Supplements are just basically a big scam for the most part. They're generally products that don't do anything. Alright, and I understand it's a big business, and I understand that it's a whole monkey see, monkey do. All these different guys out there, they all use them, and they're jacked, so it must be the supplements. Or I take it because it helps me recover. It helps give me a better workout. And you know, that's kind of the question I would ask with a lot of things, and people will say, well, it helps me get a better workout, like pre-workouts, right? Well, the question I would ask you is, what do you define as a better workout? I define a good workout as one that improves you. Meaning, it either helps you gain muscle, gain strength, lose fat, make some sort of positive change. So in other words, if a product gives you a better workout, then it had to give you a workout that helped you achieve those goals better than if you hadn't bought that $50 ton of crap, right? That's what I would define as it. Or are you taking something that's altering your brain that makes you believe that you had a better workout because there's some stimulant in there or some upper in it? You do know that doesn't make it real, right? Just because it makes you believe. And as a matter of fact, pre-workouts have been studied already, and they've been found to be not effective towards those goals. Meaning people can take them and they might feel like, man, I got a better workout, I got a good pump, I trained harder. But does it actually translate into more muscle over several months? Well, there was one big study done, and I've linked it before. I did a whole video covering that study in detail. And you know what they ultimately found? Craze, one of the most popular pre-workouts ever. It was one, oh, this thing works great, it's an amazing product. It was hyped up and everyone loved it, right? But people who were put on it, who were put on a good training program and a good diet by actual strength coaches and registered dietitians, they didn't see any improvements in body composition or gain muscle any faster than the other group that wasn't given craze. They were just given a little caffeine pill so that they had a mild stimulant in there and a placebo. Guess what? They gained the exact same amount of muscle, gained the exact same amount of strength, lost the exact same amount of body fat. No measurable differences between the two groups. So the question I would ask you is, did it actually help you get a better workout? If taking it for months doesn't do anything, there's no difference in your results. It wasn't really better just because you believe it was. And these are things to consider when you're looking at these products. Now, as far as the claims by the FDA makes them put that on there because these products generally don't work. And what you need to understand, when we're talking about things like building muscle or changing body composition or anything else, you need to understand those are medical things, meaning there are drugs that do those things. There are drugs that help build muscle. They're called anabolic steroids. And yes, they are proven to work in the lab. And yes, they are proven to work without people having to exercise. So again, all these people, well, you know, nothing works unless you do. Really, there's plenty of studies that show when you have people quit lifting weights who use these substances for the first time, they gain muscle without lifting weights at all. In fact, they gain muscle faster than the control groups that continue to lift weights but don't take the substance while they sit on the couch. They actually gain muscle faster. Multiple studies confirming this. Now, that's something that actually builds muscle, but here's the thing. These supplement companies kick out all these products they claim help you build muscle, and then they build a whole demographic of people who say, yeah, I take them and they help, and then they have all these people, these YouTubers, these models, everyone else who are like, oh yeah, they help. They're just part of the equation, but they help me. Even if they don't, even when they really don't, and yet all these people buy it and believe it because there's all this hype, all this advertising. None of it does anything. And if you want to understand what the FDA's burden of proof is of why they say they haven't evaluated it, meaning there hasn't been enough research done usually, and what you need to understand when you're talking about something that can alter the structure of your body in such a way that it does really help with recovery from training, which will put muscle on you faster, it will help with gains, or helps build muscle or do any of these things, when a substance is tested for any sort of medical purpose, and that would qualify as a medical purpose, you know what they usually find? Usually the average product that a drug company, you need to keep this in mind, these are people with PhDs in biochemistry and medical doctors who are combining different molecules together to test things, who literally do know what they're doing. Most supplement company people don't really know what they're doing. They're not as educated, they're not as intelligent as these guys who are doing this for the drug companies, for big pharma. Do you know that drug companies have less than a 1% success rate? Even when skilled biochemists are putting molecules together to try to induce different effects in the body, they have less than a 1% success rate in doing so. And these are usually brilliant biochemists. Their failure rate is over 99%. Yet these supplement companies would have you believe that they just throw some product together that they believe is going to have these effects and that it's just magically going to work, when the most brilliant biochemists in the world can't do that. And when a drug is tested by the FDA, and all this independent testing is done, usually there needs to be dozens and dozens of studies done showing that it works before a company can claim that it does. And by dozens of studies, that means you can't have one that shows no effect. In other words, if a company spends $5 million paying for 25 studies, right, 25 different studies looking at their substance that they're making that has some impact in the body, if out of those 25 studies, only 23 show that it does the positive thing, the FDA may not approve it. People say, what? They'll do, the supplement companies produce studies like that, or people do studies, and you get a 1-to-1, people will still buy the product. You can't even have a 20-to-1 for a drug and claim that it has these effects because there's a study showing that it didn't do it. If it didn't do it, then it requires further studies to figure out why, and if they did something wrong. But in other words, you can't have several studies pop up showing that it doesn't do what it's supposed to do. If it does, it doesn't work. In other words, if I were to take this swamp algae that this company puts together and claims improves muscle gains by 5%, and I take and we do 10 studies and only 9 of them show that it improves muscle by 5% and 1 of them shows that it doesn't, that means the product doesn't actually work. Because if it actually worked, it would work 10 out of 10 times. People say, what? That means it doesn't work, that there are other variables. Something happened in those other studies, or something wasn't done right to where there wasn't a proper control or something in place. In other words, you probably have 9 fairly bad studies, and that one good study that was done correctly showed the real data. In other words, if it actually did work and something caused a significant muscle gaining benefit, you would see it in every study. There wouldn't be exceptions as long as stuff was kept fairly close. Then you have to go, if you want to explore it further, you've got to figure out why it didn't work versus why it did work in different studies, and that's called meta-analysis. But you don't ever see that done for these products because the supplement companies aren't willing to invest the sort of R&D necessary to prove a product works. And they don't have the money or the resources to even create products that work. And you need to understand that also. Everything that they're doing is usually just food. Any positive benefit you would get from a supplement, you could get the exact same positive benefit to going to the grocery store and buying food. Which is another factor of the reason they're not allowed to make certain claims and why they don't really work, is they're just taking oftentimes extracts from normal foods and giving you something that if you actually had a balanced, good diet, you would probably have in it already. And again, that's absurd that people are honestly thinking that these products work then, because if you need to think about that for a moment. If you could just go to the grocery store and buy the foods that would produce the same effects, why do you need this industry? You already have a grocery store. There's already a food industry. It's big, you have easy access to it. I promise you, you have easier access to a grocery store than you do to supplements. And you're getting your foods in probably a better state anyways. You hear all these people in the fitness world talk about consuming minimally processed foods, whole foods. Yet what will they do? They'll go buy a bunch of pills and powders that have been more processed than McDonald's or KFC. They're going to consume a bunch of stuff that's been more processed than Coca-Cola while talking about consuming minimally processed foods until it comes to their supplements, which are basically absurdly processed foods. The hypocrisy of it's kind of funny when you think about it from that perspective. That's all they are. Most supplements are just highly, highly processed foods that offer no benefits over normal foods, and in some cases detriments that your normal foods don't get. They're not ever proven to do what they do by the FDA, and here's the kicker. If a supplement company screws up and actually makes a product that works, and then the drug companies get a hold of it and test it and find that it works, the drug companies will then take it because the FDA will slap a prescription on it, because now it's a drug. It's not a food. Once it has the actual medical benefits that oftentimes these products are taken for, it no longer falls under the area of a supplement. Once it's proven to work and been evaluated by the FDA, it will probably then be classified rightly as a drug. So that's the other ironic end of it. Not only are these products not proven to work, if they were proven to work, the supplement industry wouldn't actually be able to legally sell them to you over the counter anymore anyways. So that's why you have that disclaimer there, because they don't actually work. Alright guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.